Right now, you're in a pot of boiling water in India. But you have three choices of how you will respond to your pot of boiling water called life. You can choose to be like the carrot that turns soft and sad and weak. And it's okay to be the carrot sometimes. We're going to have carrot days. That's natural human emotion. Then you can choose to be like the egg that turns hard and mad and angry and mean with the events of life going on around you. And you know what? You're going to have egg days too. That happens. We spend time being the carrot and the egg. But you do have a choice. You do have a third option, because having a bad day is a choice, Srikanth. You choose what kind of day you have, because you have a power inside of you, that power to be that coffee bean. You also have this power inside of you that no matter what time of the day, 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock at night, it doesn't matter what time of the day, you can stop your bad day and say, you take a step back, you take a deep breath, and you tell life, hey, life, I don't have to be the carrot, and I don't have to be the egg. And then you choose to be like the coffee bean and jump into that pot of boiling water called life, and you tell life, you know what, turn it up, I've got this, because I am a coffee bean. And the longer the coffee bean sits in the pot of boiling water called life, the stronger your pot of coffee is going to be.
Hey listeners, welcome to episode 33 of Inspire Someone Today. This is Srikanth, your host for this episode. This is Flashback 10, doing a quick recap of the last 10 episodes as takeaways. As always, we had an eclectic mix of guests on this show and presented us with a multitude of insights. I have combed through these insights and presenting to you a concise summary in the form of 4 lessons or takeaways. The road on the journey of life is not a bed of roses, nor is it laden with nails. All it needs is a pragmatic approach, positive outlook, uncompromising routines, and the ability to smell the roses, even in the smallest of the things. My guests in these last 10 episodes have exactly elicited these very basics. Let's start with the importance of staying positive from my guests who have been the embodiment of grit and determination to their own life-altering journeys. Major D.P. Singh, Damon West, and Janvi Rao had this to share in lesson 1, which is staying positive despite the situation. Accept the reality and start making changes around that reality. How did you develop this kind of a mindset, Major?
Well, for developing that type of mindset, you need to have the type of a lifestyle which I lived throughout my childhood. And that's not possible for everybody. I am one of the luckiest person on this earth who's being blessed since childhood onwards by giving me tidbit of small different type of challenges depending upon my age and depending upon my conditioning of mind and body. However, spirituality supported me all through. It is the spirituality. It is this power of surrendering to the wish of Almighty which gave me peace always. So the first step is always acceptance. Till the time you are in not agreeing to your own shortcomings, your own reality, you will be in some amount of negative pain. That's for sure. So acceptance, how does the acceptance comes? Acceptance comes by surrendering yourself. When you surrender yourself to some superpower wish, then automatically it becomes easy for you to accept. Okay, that's your wish. I agree to it. Just give me the courage to face this new me, face this new reality of mine, face this new understanding that yes, there are shortcomings, yes, there are challenges, yes, there are problems, but give me the courage. So that I, who has been chosen by you, live up to your expectations. So that's the type of a spirituality one need to understand, and I could build it over the years. But let me also add here, that does not mean I am fully positive. That does not mean I don't get negative idea. That does not mean I don't get angry. That does not mean I don't get irritation. That does not mean I don't feel bad. That does not mean I don't cry. so-called men don't cry. There is no such thing. I do everything. Everything is a reality with me because that is what the nature is. If there is day, there has to be night. If there is summer, there has to be winter. If night is setting in, so the sun has to come out. It is the natural process. So these emotions which are given to us.
Man, that's a great question, Srikanth. And I tell people all the time that I don't know what the right religion, the right spiritual path is for everybody. Everybody has to choose their own spiritual path. And that's the wonderful thing about it. You get to pick your own spiritual path in life. But I do tell people all the time, find a path, because it's a very big universe out there and we're all connected in some way. And once you find that path, that's where you're going to also find the hope, because life is difficult. And I found in my life, it's just, I'll use I statements. I can't do this on my own. I have found that I need the help spiritually of a higher power. And if I can tap into that higher power, and the good thing is you get to choose your own higher power in life. But if I tap into my higher power, then I find the hope there. There's 4 things that we control in life, Srikanth. We control what we think, what we say, what we feel, and what we do.
Let's not be shackled by our own, thinking, by own limitations. Or we always think that, oh, this is not possible. This is not possible. Like, we are always doing this analysis, like, oh, is it worth it? If I make this change, is it going to be worth it? At what cost is this change going to come? And I don't have time for this. So these are the things that we always tell ourselves, no matter what we are doing, like, because so many of us are in that situation where, we probably have worked. And since I come from the tech background, I'm going to give you that example, like you've been working as, like say a design verification engineer for so many years, but you always wonder, oh, I always wanted to find out about systems, or, now all these people, everybody's talking about these newer machine learning thing, and it's software, but why not? Like, but you're like, oh my God, it's too much work. And, how will I support my family? And what will I do even if I do this? Is it going to be of any use moving on? But I think it is very important to still go for it. It's in a smaller way. You don't have to like immediately start and quit work and then join full time. I mean, I know I kind of did that, but it may or may not work for everybody. But I think you need to probably just start something small, because now everything is, say, for example, so many things are online, right? If it's something that you need to learn, we can do something on the side, because I feel that the happiness and the satisfaction that we get by doing these things that we kind of always wanted to do, but always wonder, like, should I do it or not? That satisfaction that you get, that happiness that you get, it spills over everything you do, in all aspects of life, whether it is dealing at work with your colleagues, with your supervisor, at home, with your kids, with everybody. It has this wonderful effect of positivity getting spread around, and it really helps. And you start finding ways to make that happen, make your goal happen. So even if your goal is a big one, concentrate on smaller victories, small, one step at a time. And then suddenly you realize that, yeah, oh my God, so much has been achieved, right? So I think as an adult, we always do these pros and cons for any decisions that we are taking. But there is definitely a place to say that if you are really passionate about something, then it's kind of okay to not have a totally rational decision of, looking at only the cons. Just look at also the pros, and then concentrate on a smaller one-step goal, small goals, and go for it. And you yourself will feel much more confident that, maybe I am on the right path or something. That's how I look at it.
Never say never. Nothing is impossible. Lot of the things are in the mind. Staying positive alone doesn't guarantee success. You need to work on other elements, and they being the body, mind, and soul. How is it important and why is it important was spoken at length by Rani and Monica, and here are the excerpts from those episodes taking care of the body, mind, and spirit?
To me, movement is two very fundamental things. Number one, it is indicative of life. It is the essence of life. And number two, movement is what keeps the flow going in life. So movement is, I'm not very fond of people restricting movement in pure physical terms, like when the interpretation is purely based on exercise or activity. There is movement in everything that we do. And if you consider it, when I said movement is life, at the very basic level, breath, as long as the human being has the breath flowing in them, that is movement. That is movement of life. When breath stops, life stops. There are many spiritual and other discussions, and this can be interpreted differently. But at a very basic level, yes, movement is what keeps us going. And also, I have seen that when movement at any plane, whether it is physical, whether it is emotional, our emotions, they also need to move and flow through us. They need to be produced in us. We need to experience them. They need to live a life cycle, and we need to allow them to flow out. So there is movement there as well. So my whole concept of movement is very interrelated. I don't try to make any academic distinctions between that. If you just celebrate movement, it is indicative of life. It is a celebration of life. So when you look at it, when you embrace it, when you enjoy it that way, it becomes a fairly intuitive process of incorporating movement in all that you do, and do it in a manner that it frees up all blockages, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And if you were to take a parallel from nature, you tell me now, Srikanth, what is it about the outdoors that really appeals to you? Why do we find the outdoors so soothing? Even if you are not moving, if you're sitting by the side of a stream, you hear the gurgling of water. Sometimes you may not even see the water body, but the sound is evocative of movement. The sound indicates that there is movement of water somewhere. You hear the rustling of the leaves. You see the leaves and you see the flowers flowing in the wind. That does something for you. That opens you up, isn't it? And that's why we also try and say, even our ancient texts say that it's good to take your exercising outdoors, because you imbibe so much of this extra movement happening in nature around you, which spurs you to overcome your own inertia, whether that inertia is physical, mental, emotional, whatever, and it gets you going. So for all these reasons, and purely from personal example, and I see, because I deal with people who have movement debilitating conditions, Parkinson, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, etc. When you become movement deficient, you also by corollary become little dependent upon caregivers. That can play havoc with your sense of self-respect. That can play havoc with your sense of self-control. And that can set a very negative spiral. Why do we say that some people give up mentally even before the disease has completely overtaken them? So it's movement. You basically want to look for a solution where you can move past these blockages and move. It is absolutely essential for everybody, even for mental health conditions. When we say wellness, we always try to push for the physical aspect as well, isn't it? We also say that exercise will be a facilitator for your mental health as well. So it is the underlying tenet of movement in exercise. It doesn't really matter what your modality is. What is the tool with which you exercise? The fact that it allows your body, it allows your blood, it allows your cells to move inside you, and it yields psychological, physical, physiological benefits.
So, Srikanth, I always say that sleep is the unsung hero of our mental health. Research suggests that there is a two-way relationship between mental health and sleep, with poor sleep both a cause and a consequence of mental health problems. And researchers have known about the correlation between sleep quality and mental health for years. And traditionally, clinicians, they viewed sleep problems as a symptom of a mental health. But there is a wealth of data, and there is growing evidence that poor sleep quality can also contribute to the development of new psychiatric disorders and the ability to cope with existing disorders. So for many people, particularly insomnia, it can be part of the complex package of causes of mental health difficulties. So if you can sort out your sleep, you could also be taking a significant step forward in tackling a wide range of psychological and emotional problems. Insomnia, to break it down for you, it is the inability to fall asleep or stay asleep or early morning awakenings. And it plagues millions of people across all levels of mental health. And among the many published reports linking inadequate or poor sleep quality with mental health issues, you will find facts like insomniacs are nearly 10 times more likely to suffer from clinical depression and more than 17 times more likely to report clinical anxiety than normal sleepers. Individuals with two or more types of sleep problems were about 2.6 times more likely to report a suicide attempt than those without any insomnia complaints. Also, talking about sleep problems in children. So, there is a study which pointed out that 4-year-olds with serious sleep disorders have a higher risk of developing symptoms of psychiatric problems as 6-year-olds when compared to normal sleeping problems. So the thing is that we really don't know the exact reasons for this two-way relationship between sleep patterns and mental illness, but what we know is that sleep disruption seriously impacts neurotransmitters and stress hormones, which can lead to impaired thinking and the inability to regulate emotions, two of the most common symptoms of mental disorders.
Wasn't it intriguing? Sort out your sleep, get regular with your physical movements, and take care of your mental health. Up next is the importance of routines. Staying positive, taking care of physical and mental health, and how about routines? Time and again we have heard that success is not overnight. And that's exactly is what we are going to hear in this lesson 3 of the power of discipline and consistency.
Okay, there are many messages that I can give, but I think the one that I really want to give is if you're listening to me, most likely you are inclined towards the whole work world, and that's a space you're from, most likely. When you choose your path to success in life, there are 3 types of paths that you will come across. Path number 1 is for everything, the answer is when this happens, I'll do this, which is, okay, when I get someone to call me to write an article, I will write that article. When someone tells me you're going to get promoted, I will then move forward. When someone tells me, it's waiting for someone else to make things happen for you. That's the first path. Always say no to that path. The second path is the path which is I'll call a very cluttered, messy, busy path. It's a path of the shortcuts. It's the path that a lot of people will take. So it's a very crowded path. So getting to success quickly, what that means is thinking about things like, for example, I'll put my post on LinkedIn and I'll join a pod. I'll get 20 people to like my post and make, trick the algorithm in that way. Or I'll get my friends and my family members to start commenting on that's a cluttered path because it's an easy path. A lot of people do things like that. So you want to keep asking yourself, whether you're a student, whether you're a young aspiring, writer, or whether you're a corporate professional, you want to say, am I taking this path because this is the shortcut? If the answer is yes, then it's going to be a very cluttered path. There are a lot of people on that path, and this path is full of stories of people who never made it to the end. And there's a final path, which is called the long, arduous, difficult, drip by drip path. I will write to my utmost, integrity. I will create content with my utmost sincerity. I will play no games and hack no systems. You're not going to see success quickly in that. You're going to see success in a long, long time. That is why consistency and frequency are going to be important. But when you hit success with that path, there are no returns. I am still on that path, the long, arduous, difficult path of staying sincere and staying honest and staying right, not playing into the hacks, the hustles, and all the quick baits and clickbait sort of stuff. I think in the end, in this digitally advanced world, if you stay on the long, arduous path where you actually get satisfaction much later,
So I remember I think 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, something like that. I saw LinkedIn was starting to getting traction. People started to recognize the value of LinkedIn. Before that, LinkedIn was there, but it was just used for applying for jobs and not for the content itself. Slowly, LinkedIn was started to becoming like a content platform, and I realized its value from my companies I worked at. And then I thought to apply the same strategy that I did for every business I had. Like, if you want to be successful, like being consistent, as I mentioned. So I said, I need to put myself in a commitment to the world that I will show up every single day for 1,000 days, no matter what, until I die. So that was like a strong commitment that I brought to the table, so people can trust me. Eventually, that really turned out to be an amazing campaign from my side. I felt beginnings were difficult. I just got one like from my first post. It was my wife, and nobody liked it. Although beginnings were smaller, but eventually it grew significantly. I learned along the way because, when you start something, you commit to posting on LinkedIn, you don't see much engagement, much likes, much comments. You give up in a few days, or maybe you'll give up in 100 days. After 3 months, you will give up eventually. But what happened is I kept on changing my content style. I was posting on social media before marketing. Then I did some spiritual posts, inspirational posts. Nothing kind of worked well. It was okay. But recently, I would say a few months ago, I started to post about technology, startups, Israel, India-Israel relationship. And I started to get traction. People loved my content. 1 or 2 posts got over 1.5 million views, which was a success. So I got success almost after 450 days.
Way over a year.
Way over a year. So that's the amount of time you need to give to something that you love. Think about Facebook, Google, they launched Facebook was launched in 2008 or 2004 something. Took them so much time to be successful. There are any company in the world, Amazon also, they started early 2000 something. And now after 2010, 15, we started to recognize him. So it takes years to become a big brand.
Play no games, hack no systems, but constant, consistent, and deliberate practice is what takes to the road of success. So success isn't necessarily landing in the grandeur of things. It's developing the perception of seeing success in small things. Smell the roses. Ability to appreciate small wins and setting the stage for larger accolades. The final lesson in this edition of Flashback 10 is finding extraordinary in ordinary. So hear out some of the guests who spoke about this topic, starting with Sam Thierra on Carpe Diem, the wonderful stories that Deepthi Bopaya shared on the extraordinary individuals who from an ordinary livelihood have become extraordinary. And finally, Suparna impresses one and all with finding meaning and recognizing the ordinary folks who have done extraordinary things.
Oftentimes in life, we go through on autopilot. We do our daily activities. We do all of these things throughout the day, and they just blend in as a routine. But what I wanted people to stop and realize is that embedded in the ordinary things that we do every day are the extraordinary things that we sometimes will miss. And, it could be as simple as receiving a letter from somebody in the mail, not a bill, but actually a letter. And it puts a smile on your face. That's extraordinary. Or maybe you're taking a walk and you suddenly have gone to a different direction and you suddenly come to a pond that you were just like, wow, I wish I would have known this. So it's about discovering the extraordinary out of the ordinary. And the way that I suggest that people do this, and I captured it into this term I call carpe. So carpe diem is seize the day, but carpe is how I build my stories. So C stands for curiosity. Go through life with a curious nature and take a different pathway or look at things from a different perspective. So that's curiosity. The second thing is appreciation. So appreciate people, situations, and things in a much more deeper way. So think of it as this is not just a flower that I just found that's embedded within the rocks. Appreciate it for more than what it is and look at it as the struggles that flower had coming between the rocks to bloom. It's the R, which is important because that's reflection. In other words, once you've got curiosity and you've appreciated something, what does it mean? And reflection is where you add purpose and meaning to this, to add substance. And then the P stands for perspectives. In other words, we all have perspectives. So we all see the world in a much more broader, different way. So perspectives is, I may see something in one lens and you may see something in a different lens. And the final one is experience. Because we go through life with the curiosity, appreciation, reflection, and perspectives. But unless we capture it as an experience, that becomes your story now. If you don't capture it as an experience, your story will die an untimely death and never be experienced, never be shared, and never realized because you haven't captured that. What I've done is use that carpe principle throughout my life. And when I'm talking to people or we're engaged in a conversation, I have this virtual filing cabinet of stories because I've cataloged them all as experiences. And that's how I go out building stories. But equally at the same time, it suddenly makes me resonate on taking the ordinary and finding extraordinary.
Multiple, unsung heroes, but you have someone, I won't say unsung, but unknown, I would say. They're not known. For example, there's Supriyo Mondal. He's actually a fisherman's son. And he comes from a small town in Kolkata and used to swim in the lake. And he took part in one of the state competitions because he was swimming really well. Someone guided him and his uncle told him, go take part. He was so good, he won. And then we relocated him to Bangalore 9 years ago. And when he came, he was malnutritioned. He couldn't speak English. We were like, let him play sport. Let him continue swimming. He's a good swimmer. He may win a national medal for a few years. I think that's where the power of sport comes in, that today he has a job, he earns money, he's become a breadwinner of his family. He managed to, during Rio, get his B qualification for the Olympics for swimming. He may never go to the Olympics, but the fact that he's traversed that journey and he's not going to go back to being a fisherman. He has broken the circle of poverty already for his family and his future generations. And that is the power of sport. And I think, which is where the whole United Nations sustainability development goals fully match, because that's exactly what they're saying, right? To change livelihoods, to take them out of poverty. We're doing all of that through sport. Supriyo comes to my mind. Another fantastic example and something we should all be very proud of is Rani Ragpal. She's actually a cart puller's daughter from Haryana. And her father used to probably earn 250 or 300 rupees a day on a good day. And she used to play for the junior state level team hockey. She was 15 when she got into the national team. But when she got in there, it was so difficult, obviously, for her parents to support anything. She was one of our first scholarships that we gave. I remember at that time it was 6,000 rupees a month. But she suddenly became the breadwinner of the family at 15, right? And today, she's built her own house. She supports many young hockey players, and she's India's hockey team captain, taking the team to Olympics this year. So she's incredible athlete and a role model for everyone.
I think this goes back to what I was saying about, I feel every single person, there is inspiration inside them. And I get so inspired by so many quote unquote ordinary people. I think ordinary people are actually extraordinary. It's just that we don't peel the onion and we don't get to the nuances of what is it that is special. I think COVID has also taught us that, all these so-called extraordinary people and the big celebrities, and you really wonder, why were we even enamored of them? Who are the real heroes? The nurses, the doctors, these dunzo guys, yeah? I mean, come on, look at them. They do 18, 20 deliveries every day in this COVID environment. The BBMP workers who are cleaning the streets, every morning I see them, the poor karmikas. It is heroism. Inspiration is in all of these people.
And to summarize all of it, in the words of Major D.P. Singh, hear this out. This is an Inspire Someone Today message from the Major from episode 30.
Well, I think the most powerful quote, which I also feel good about myself, I could think till today, is the one, if you feel like giving up, give up giving up. That's the only option you have.
Okay, that's a wrap for this episode, and I would love to hear from you. There's an option to leave a voice message, and the link is embedded in the show notes. So go out there, share your views, and I eagerly look forward to hearing from you. Stay well, stay safe, and keep inspiring. Thank you for listening into today's edition of Inspire Someone Today. It's been a privilege to bring in these conversations. If you like this episode and have any feedback or comments, do mail me at inspiresomeonetodaypodcast@gmail.com. Inspiring someone is like creating ripples around us. If you like what to listen, feel free to share them and let's create ripples of inspiration. Do not forget to follow me on my Instagram handle @InspireSomeoneTodayPodcast for all the latest updates. This is Srikanth, your host, signing off, and until next time, keep inspiring.